Hello everyone and welcome to a most excellent game from round 5 of the Gashimov Memorial. It's quite an eventful round in this game. Even though a bit short, it really is a positional masterpiece. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's just check out the game. It's Viswanathan Anand versus Anish Giri. And Anand opens with e4. So we have e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez is on the board. And Giri goes for knight to f6, the Berlin defense. And this is pretty much what everyone plays today against the Ruy Lopez. We have d3 and bishop to c5, the most often played line. c3, we have castles by Giri, knight b to d2, and here rook to e8. We have castles, this is all standard stuff. We have a6, bishop captures, d captures of course, and now knight to c4. It's interesting, Caruana and Nakamura played 3 games where Caruana played the knight to c4. One game Caruana won, one game Nakamura won, and one game between the two of them was drawn. So, you know, a colorful line, this knight to c4. But okay. Knight to c6, now increasing the defense of the e5 pawn. We have rook to e1 by Anand, and interesting, in one of the games, Caruana played b4 against Nakamura. He was... I believe that's the game Nakamura won. So here Anand has a different plan. Here Anand plays rook to e1, and now bishop back to f8. And this is nothing new, this has all been played before. d4, Anand seizes the center, e captures, c captures, and now there are known moves in this position are c5, immediately going after white's very strong center, or knight to f6, just remaneuvering back, pressuring the e4 pawn. But the move Giri plays is a new move, and it is of this moment, the move 12, that we have a completely new game. So okay, Anand captures on b6, we have knight captures, pawn captures here. Now black has doubled b pawns, and as you can see, white has a very strong center, a lot of central squares that Anand controls, but it's a trade-off. As you can see, Giri has the bishop pair. So if Giri can open the position up, make use of his bishops, then black should have the advantage here. But we'll see how he fares. We have h3 by white, b5, and now bishop to f4. Anand continues developing. We have bishop to e6. Now black develops the light square bishop, and now rook to e3. A very nice rook lift, and now f6. One of the positions where it's actually okay to play f6, just strengthening the e5 square. And now white will have problems if he wants to further advance the center. d5 and both e5 are well protected from black's perspective. b3 by white, and now comes queen to d7. We have queen to c2 by white, and rook a to d8, and here rook to d1. So now both sides have pretty much completed development. Both rooks are now active, and well, Anand's bishop and the knight are doing very nicely. Giri's bishops are also not bad. So okay, we have queen to f7 by Giri, and bishop back to g3. And here, queen to h5. It's interesting, you still can't push something like c5. It would be very nice if you could trade off or force black to capture here. But the white will simply advance d5, and you will simply aid the white in advancing his very strong center. You will create a passed pawn for white, which is not something you want to do. So here, after queen to h5, what Giri played, we have queen to c7. Anand decides to remaneuver the bishop all the way to b6. We have rook to d7, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes to b6, and now bishop to b4 by Giri. The bishop, I mean, was very nice controlling all of these squares, but now the bishop also controls these squares, so it's a very nice dark square bishop now. We have knight to e1, deciding to go to d3 to push back the dark square bishop. We have bishop to f7, and now comes knight to d3 as planned, and bishop goes back. We have bishop to d6. Rook d to e1, now Anand doubles up on the e file, and bishop goes back to b8. So now the bishop did quite a trip. First goes to b4, then to d6, then to b8, and now he controls this diagonal. But again, a very nice dark square bishop. And here Anand increases his presence in the center. He goes f4, as black has no good ways of punishing this. And now, as you can see, just with the pawns, Anand has immense central control here, which is, you know, there's an old saying in chess: he who controls the center shall win the game. But we'll see about that. We have f5 by Giri. And now, as black is no longer controlling e5, Giri immediately seizes that outpost, knight to e5, which you have to capture. You cannot allow that monster knight to stay there. So bishop captures on e5, d captures on e5, and now f captures on e4. Queen captures on e4. Now Anand has this beautiful rook-rook-queen battery along the e file, and also the f pawn and the e pawn are ready to be pushed, and the e pawn is a very dangerous passed pawn. So first, rook to d2. Just an excellent square for the rook, pressuring the a2 pawn, also will increase pressure towards the g2 pawn, and Anand, of course, will not allow this. We have rook to e2, and now first bishop to d5, attacking the queen. This was the threat. You had to block the rook here. If you haven't blocked it now, there would be this attack towards the g2 pawn, which would be pretty much winning for black. So queen to e3, attacking the rook, and now we have rook captures. Rook captures on e2, and now queen to f5, just blockading the f pawn from being pushed forward, and also now the bishop, the queen, and the rook are preventing the passed e pawn from being pushed forward. So Anand has to decide how to deal with this position. Black seems to keep everything in check. It's a nice game. The material is equal. They are bishops of opposite colors, so they will not be able to oppose each other. And as usual in bishops of opposite color endgames or just games, the side who's on the attack has the advantage, because the side defending is basically a piece down, because the bishops are unable to oppose each other. So here, feel free to pause the video and try to figure out a way how to handle this position from Anand's perspective. I'll give you a couple of seconds. It's just find the plan to to play this game. I just realized that this is the same water that was here from yesterday, and I didn't check if maybe there were any bugs in it or anything. So I was very lucky this time, but you can never be too careful. Summer is coming, and there are all sorts of crazy bugs everywhere. But okay, for those of you who found the correct plan, the way Anand played, congratulations, you are an excellent player. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, g4 is the move. Just, grabbing even more space, forcing the queen to move. You are preparing f5, e6 is coming, and you are just, going after the black king. We have queen to b1, check by Giri, king to f2. And now you have to be a little bit careful, but not too much. Here, if you go something like queen to h1, doesn't really do anything for black. But as it will be played in the game, we will show what happens then. First, Giri played h5. He wants to bust open this beautiful pawn chain that Anand created. We have f5 by Anand, just pushing forward, and then now comes queen to h1. And now you still have to be careful. For example, if you try something like e6, then black can capture, go queen g2, check. After you move, grab the g4 pawn, and now black prevented white from further pushing the pawns, and also black is now up material. So here it would be a pleasant position for black. Not too pleasant, but fairly pleasant. So here, after queen to h1, Anand first has to make a safety move, which I no doubt know that you all know which it is. It is king to g3, just, a very nice safe square for the king. Now the rook is also controlling the g2 square. There are no tricks, there are no checks, and Giri has to decide what to do. Here we have rook to e7 by Giri, and here Anand immediately pushes it back. We have bishop to c5, rook to e8, and now e6. And here, well, you can just imagine if you're playing black here, how do you deal with this position? It's not all that easy. Giri played king to h7, and here Anand just played queen to g5, and it was in fact in this position on move 39 that Anish Giri resigned the game, and a wonderful victory for Viswanathan Anand. Why did he resign? Well, there's too many threats from white's perspective. If you just, let's say, capture the pawn, then queen g6 check picks up the rook. Black is getting checkmated very soon. And even if you don't, if you try something like rook to f8 to maybe get rid of this bishop controlling g1, doesn't really matter. White can play anything. White can even just capture the rook, and after, let's say, queen to f3 check or something, you can go king to h4, and black has no moves. No more checks are possible, and whatever you do, let's say you capture the rook, then comes queen captures on g7. And this will be checkmate. So a really impressive game by Anand after Queen G5. Anish Giri resigned, and it's one of those games where you're not too sure where Black made the mistake. There was no mistake in this game. Anand just played the strongest moves, and Giri played almost the strongest moves. And you know, after we play 20 moves in that fashion, one side will gain the decisive advantage, which was the case here. But it's just, you know, 39 moves against the Berlin. It's just a positional masterclass by Anand. So, you know, a well-deserved victory, to say the least. I will be showing at least one more game from this round of the Gashimov Memorial, so we'll be showing the standings after round 5 in that video, which I'm probably going to upload maybe in an hour or two. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's the game. I'm sure you, I hope you enjoyed it. Giri definitely didn't. I would like to thank Matt Plagans, Michael Cabral, Nishank Batiprolu, William Miller, and Yoni Schlesinger for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, like I said, with another game from the Gashimov Memorial, the 6th edition. So thank you all, and I will see you soon.